Hello and welcome back to the channel and another showcase video. And in what's generally been a bit of a lull for courses recently, as expected, I got this through in the review queue the other day and I thought it'd be a really good one to do a video on. It's a tour-worthy course. I wouldn't say by miles, and therefore it's really good to showcase like what this does really well, and hopefully give the designer a little bit of feedback on like the next steps they could take. We're going to play on medium and east winds, but also it's just a really good fun course to play, so do give it a go if you haven't done yet. um, yeah, popped it on medium winds, rod and back tees, which is only 6,900 or so. And I believe this is based on Sand Valley over in, is it Wisconsin? I think so. Straight away, you can see that you've got kind of large, wide open spaces, good use of the terrain painting to just fill some of those emptier spaces. A lot of times people think that getting tour worthy is purely about planting. It really isn't. It's far more about how the holes play and are designed. So we've got this opening par 5, really big green, on the bigger side, I would say, for what you'd want it to be, but certainly very playable. And we've got a tee shot that asks us a question. You can see everything. All the bunkers are right there for you. We're just going to hit down this side. That might be a little tight. Yeah, not quite getting away with that one. Okay, so we're now coming in blind over these bunkers. We're not going to get to the green, but hopefully leave it somewhere short will be fine. And you can see like thought has been given as to where the bunkers are placed. There is an open way to the green. If you're hacking out, you've still got a decent shot. You can see it's a nice wide open plot where you can see lots of things. There are sensible choices regarding plant meter and where he spent his time. So you can see we've got this big sandy area just really preventing like the shadows from cropping onto the green, which makes sense. Um, green could this bit could possibly use some smoothing out, but the bit that needs to be smoother is smoother. Right, what are we going to play? Hit shot, spinner. Spinner somewhere up here, and it should just grab and roll down, you'd hope. Always like playing into slopes and just seeing what happens. See, there we go. A fun way to play a shot. Now, this pin's a touch on the dicier side, but on a very like easy kind of to get par 5, I'm okay with that. Slightly slippery putt past the hole. Unfortunately, not quite there. That's our first hole. So even 3-1, you can see put the time in to do the cameras. Now, in terms of things that I might try to tidy up a little bit, I think you can probably sculpt down the sandy areas just a little bit to make it look like more of a depression. And then the other thing is just slightly more involved planting, weathering as well, maybe around some of the grasses. But like a lot of it's purely on the aesthetic side of things. The playability is really good. So here we get given a choice. If we go this way, we're presented with that view. If we go this way, it's again tight, but we would potentially get around that mound. No, I think we're dealing with that mound no matter what. I don't want to go this way, which is the tougher tee shot. And we've missed the fairway again. But the main thing I would say with this, like any sort of course, like the playability is by far and away the most important aspect. We will forgive quite a lot of courses for looking plain in reviews, because that's not what really matters. The core of it is this a course that people could play on tour 4 rounds in a row and enjoy? I think like looking at this one, it's got big, interesting greens that have some interesting features. Like it's a nice layout. All of the holes are thoughtfully designed. Like there's a lot of good to this that I think guys who are on the cusp of getting tour, whether you're wondering why is my course only approved, like play this, look at what this does well, and go from there. Okay, par 3 again, kind of generous. We just need to hit the distance, really, I'd say. But once again, all the sight lines are absolutely where you need them to be. You can see all of the bunkers. There's no cut of light rough, but given how wide the fairways are, I don't think that's needed. Hey, we hold a putt. 1 under. So yeah, you can see on the left here, like sometimes that sand does just get a little bit empty, but the holes themselves and the big landscape look great. This sand texture is particularly hard to use because it's just so overpowering. So I might try and break it up with other bits of like rough or different subsoil, or popping down some of the topsoil as well. Now this was a hole I really liked as well, because whilst the green's quite big with some broad slopes, like if you're playing from way down here, behind that mound gets quite tricky, which is I think where pin 1 was. And you're trying to hedge your bets as close to this side as you can do. I think we're just going to lay back with a 3-wood. Ooh, not a great swing at all. And we've managed to miss a 3rd fairway in a row. Excellent work. Really like the green side as well. Oh, that was not a good swing. Well, now we're going to try and play this little up and down from here. It would be a little more challenging than we need it to be when it stops rolling. What a terrible shot. That's significantly better. Do love the spinner at certain points. And yeah, like, oh, I forgot I'm still on those approach cameras. Another thing I might do is those bunkers behind, I might sit those down a little bit because you've got the red slope coming away from them, which makes them less in play than potentially they could be. Again, you get the big picture view of the plot, which looks awesome. Like the amount of openness you've kept is great. Another choice of going left or right, which given the fairways are as wide as they are, I think works just fine. I would say generally the greens are very big for the amount of contour on them, and so might make them play a little easier than you may want. Ugh, while we're nowhere near where we should be. And yeah, just sculpting down the sand would be a good thing. But it would only be it's like a nitpick. That's not a reason. It's something I would note, but not something that would prevent me from giving this tour worthy. Big green. It does admittedly look bigger because of my green grids that my player has. 9-iron choked, maybe? That felt quite good. Well, my tee shot game might be terrible, but the approaches have been pretty good. Simple par 3, but doesn't need to do much more. Again, I think you've got room to experiment a little bit more with the greens, but they will play really well. It's probably, as difficulty goes, we're probably looking CC for this one, I would say. But then the tee shots can get a little bit challenging for CC players. So it's that mid difficulty between CC and kinetic, which is a good place to design for. As you can see again, like, there's nothing standing out as being particularly wrong. I would say the weakest area is that sand. Again, you can see on the left, it's just kind of there, and we can break it up a little bit more. But the way it all plays is really good. Now, I do notice that we could potentially play down this fairway for this one. That's one thing I didn't notice the first time around when playing this. And given it's a short par 5 anyway, you want to be very careful for these sorts of things because players will always use this when it's on tour. And I'm only playing a 3-wood. Am I on the right tees? I am. It's a really short par 5. Makes me wonder whether it is meant to be a par 5 or if it's a publish error. It might be. I think you might even go this way. This is the one risk of doing very open, kind of treeless courses, is that you can lead to this sort of thing, which people wouldn't do in real life. Like, it would just be you obviously wouldn't get chucked off the course by members if you did do that. But it's worth us being aware that you kind of want to avoid routing in such a way that that could be a possibility. Because, yeah, eagle on that is not how I would have anticipated that hole going. I do wonder whether that's meant to be a par 4. Okay. Coming on to 8, I think this camera maybe goes a touch too fast. This was an absolute favourite hole. I really enjoy this one, and a great example of one where the time and thought has gone into designing the hole here and how this all works. It's not gone into dressing it up and making it all like particularly fancy or frilly. Right. The effort has gone where it should have gone. I wonder if we can get there with 3 wood. Probably not. Driver might be too much. Hit a little choke down driver of sorts and hope that those mounds do their work. That's going to go way deep into the green. The fun tee shot. All the way through, and I really like the dune-ish planting you've done here. I kind of would like a bit more of that rather than the sandier areas. I really need to turn those true sim approach cameras off, but I can't be bothered right now. And as you can see, it's got, like, the hole has got some teeth to it. If you pop it way too far into the green, it's not necessarily a trivial way back. 9th hole. Cute short little par 3. Again, tucked behind a mound. Down 16, pitching wedge. Yeah, I might like to see a bit more like popping in some colour or bushes or something just to brighten up this area would be great. Just in terms of taking your course to that next level. That is a terrible swing. But bunker positioning really good. Like all of them sculpted pretty well. No issues, certainly. I mean, it's not my most stellar front 9, and yet we're 5 under. So yeah, maybe CC is more the place for this one. We have had quite a few central hazards as well, which might be a little thing to flag. Just see if you can do it differently. This one, I want to say, flows more towards the back. So that's something that we're doing slightly differently. Good sight line. Pop it over that bunker. I know I want it to be down the right-hand side. You can tell that the designer has thought about strategy because of where those 2 bunkers are compared to the orientation of the green, because now I'm shooting more across this hazard rather than coming in at that angle. Things we like. It's that choked approach, I think, again. That could be good. Oh, this is going very well all of a sudden. Another par 3. And again, kind of benched into the bunkers really nicely. Sightline from here looks great. Again, you probably just want that little bit more flashy planting around the front bunker just to frame it. Or just draw your eye a little more away from the emptier areas. You've done a great job of fleshing out the background without using too much meter. It's now just about drawing the eye a little bit more. 162 down 10 into wind. Ugh, I don't really have the club for this. We're just going to go and end up short. Yeah, wasn't too bad. Nasty little pin in that it rolls away a touch. Oh, even holding that. Suddenly everything is going in. On to the next. I played this, I want to say, nearly a week ago when it was in the review queue, so I don't remember it all that well. And it has aged really nicely. It's still a lot of fun to play second time round. Okay, so maybe that bunker's there partly to stop us going this way. But I think with this one, I would say this hole got a little bit tight for my liking. Because if you're looking at where you're laying up to, you're probably playing, if you don't fancy the drive down there, dropping that to 3 would also feels dicey, and I'm not sure this bunker needed to be there. Probably lost that. And then it allows people to play up to a full wedge. So as it is, I'm just going to end up hitting driver, which I feel like if you'd given me the option to play 3 would, I'd have taken that. I'm going to go into the sand, which maybe not the worst thing in the world. What I do love about this hole, though, is the green side, which I think is great. Just sunken down into a little bit of a bowl. The front bunker looks really good. And then just a fall off. Doesn't need any more hazards. Simple things done well. Pitching wedge splash. I don't think so. Probably rather play something like this. Oh, I shouldn't have taken the last couple off it. See how the rollout works. Yeah, it does what you set it out to do. That's the one place not to miss this green. I added a little bit more on that just to make sure it got up, which the right decision, but means now we're probably missing this part. I'm going to be careful of it as well. The last thing I'd want to do is go down the hill. So I really like this one. It just has a very simple idea on the approach shot. And that's again where I feel allowing that layup would make more sense. So now we get back over it the other way. Cool to see the joined fairways because it kind of makes you, I want to say, understand the course a little bit more, seeing, oh, I've just played up that way and now I'm playing down this way. It gives you that more connectivity, both literally and figuratively, I guess. Really tight dog leg. I don't mind ending up the far side of this. Just really fun placement of where those trees are, makes you think how much you can take off, can you cover, and ultimately probably all ending up in the middle of the fairway just because of the tightness of the dog leg, it's how much you've got left in. Again, fun way of doing it, and a nice uncluttered green site. Come on, wind. Looking pretty good. Wind worked well. Knew I was going to miss that as soon as I saw the amount of slope on it. Yeah, you can see above that, just in the background on that shot, there's a little too much just empty space. One thing I feel like you've done quite nicely as well is followed the autogen grass maybe a little. I'm just looking at this section, which feels autogen in terms of how it's clumped. I could be wrong and doing you a massive disservice. But if so, again, an efficient way of planting. I'd say this was probably the hole that grabbed me the least. It's a long par 3, and there's nothing to do other than just hit the shot. But I'd earned enough credit by this point that it's absolutely fine. You just put this one down to it's a hard hole. That could be very good. It slows now. Yep, we'll take that. Back to back, left to right, right to left sliders just wiped across the face. Frustrating. Front nine promised so much. Okay. Now we get a long par 5. You can either hedge your bets up here, in which case you stay up high, which is better to attack this side, or we go and fall down that side and then everything gets much more dicey. Again, the thought that's gone in is really good. And that's going to be in a bunker. Just really well placed hazards, which, as we know, I will always appreciate. I'm just going to hack it out. This isn't going to hold the high side. But at least we get some look at the flag. It's not too bad of a pin position, so it should be. Loving the choked approach at the moment. That is not a good shot though. I'm back off that slope a little. Got bailed out by the slope. There we are. Art gets one of those last two shots back. Again, nice big open vista over the course. Like, it's a really cool atmosphere. I do think that second bunker maybe looks a little bit flat, and you could probably vary where they are. Like the fact that all three of them are like boom, boom, boom. They look just a bit regularly spaced. However, the hole itself works really well. It's a nice, interesting green again. If I bomb it down, then where am I leaving it? That dip also makes me think as well. I think we're just going to lay back. Yeah, I'd like those bunkers just to be a bit more striking, because this hole suddenly feels very flat after the last one. I'd say it's equally as interesting as the last one. It needs to flow that little bit better from super hilly to dead flat. And you can do that with how you bunker it and mound those up, or the land around it. There's different ways. Still, really good hole though. If anything, I'm enjoying this more than the first time I played it. I do remember this one. So we have a drivable par 4 that's super short. And we had this bunker, which is just really annoying. It's placed like right where you want it to be. I might have been tempted to make it a bit smaller and on a diagonal, or have two bunkers that cut in on a diagonal. I don't know whether you need this bit cutting in either. But I'm also potentially saying it just because it's annoying. Which is not necessarily, that's one of the worst tee shots I'll hit. Yeah, it didn't deserve to not be in the heavy rough. Try again. But it poses some really, like, just an awkward question, which I think works well. And you will see people play that hole very differently. If it did go on tour, hopefully it does. I think you'd see people take pretty much anything from driver down to 8-iron on that one, which would be really cool. 17, back we go. Long par 4, I want to say, from memory. Okay, chokes it down just a little. Oh, this is 18, sorry. I'm just going to bunt it somewhere down there. There's a much better tee shot than I hit the first time, and it's a really nicely framed approach shot. I think you don't need to take off the front of the green if it's par 4 as much. If it's par 5, this is fine. And then you get people questioning the par is relevant stuff. Just about how people feel about it. But I can see that you've given us a way to get the ball back to this pin, which I really appreciate as well. I think these like bunkery hits, this one and the one back left, could just use a little bit more shaping. Now, what are we going to do? We can try and do it the fun way. Up 10. That may not reach. We'll give it a go. Right, that's the fun shot. Oh, it's just going to miss the fairway. Might still be okay. And roll back. You can see how that would have worked though. Utterly terrible chip. I always forget those are straight. And yeah, I mean, Clubhouse kind of just exists. It's nothing massively fancy. It doesn't need to be. Like, it's a little... Oh, doing it a disservice. It's got a couple of different buildings in it. But you can see the area around it is quite sparse. So, in terms of questions as to people might have as to what you need to do to get tour worthy, well, everything good from the golfing front. Like, the golf is the most important thing, and that was really interesting across the whole course. It's clearly had a lot of thoughts. It's only got 10 plays, which is utterly criminal. I mean, he doesn't have it doesn't help. He doesn't have a thread on the forums for it, so maybe I'll create one if he doesn't do this. But it's a bunch of fun, and I really hope this goes on tour because honestly, with all the posts I see in the not proved threads or the why have I not got tour worthy, like this is exactly what I want to show people. Something that puts time into the things that matter and really thinks about how the golf works. And okay, we have maybe one. I'm gonna go with publish error on 7, but I think the dog leg would have been slightly wonky anyway. But other than that, there's no real issues. 14, maybe a touch tough. That's about it. And some of the sandy stuff. But it's comfortably good enough for a place on tour, and I really hope it gets it. So yeah, one for you guys to go and get a play as well. It's a real hidden gem with only the 10 plays, as I say. It deserves way more. Go and give it a run, and yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. See you again soon.